I'm sorry.
He had a rally, like a Trump rally, like make Russia great again, cleanse the infidels, whatever. He had a full stadium, like a full football stadium.
Was this Russians that were?
Full of people dressed in Russian colors.
Right. Russian pride.
Which I didn't even realize. It's almost the same as the French flag, but the stripes are vertical as opposed to, no, the stripes are vertical in the French and horizontal in the Russian. But it's the same colors, blue, red, and white. That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean...
Red? I don't think red's in it. Never mind. Anyway, yeah, red's in it. And he had the whole audience dressed up in the color. And basically he's on a mercy mission in Ukraine to try to rid the people of the Nazis and the dictatorships within Ukraine. That's his story.
That's his story. He's sticking to it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite a story. So, how did you catch this? Because I heard it was hard to listen to Putin's speeches. That they were often they were not available. Was it on RT or how did you hear it?
I saw it on. It came across one of the news sources on my news feed. I don't remember which one.
Was it on Facebook?
It was a popular American. I think it was NBC.
Was that on Facebook or was it a different platform?
Yeah, I don't see anything positive in the future. I think it's just more negative. I'm not seeing a light in the tunnel at all.
Well,
they're already talking now. Remember we talked about it a couple weeks ago about them thinking that Russia could pull off some kind of tactical nuclear weapon out of a tank.
Right.
They're already talking about that right now. They're talking it's being passed around the news channels.
Well, like a low grade one, like a low grade missile, like a
low
small one.
They might only wipe out a mile. I don't know how much to wipe out.
Just not as much. Not 10 miles, right? I got you.
So
I bet they're terribly devastating to a city, though. It wouldn't take much.
I just see it. I just see, maybe I'm relating to his insanity or his madness or something. But I can see the next stage as being to do a tactical nuke somewhere. And I don't know what's going to happen after that. I can only speculate. Hopefully, we would react in force immediately, but I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen if that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think it reminds me because I just recently read Ray Bradbury's book Fahrenheit 451, and it very specifically talks about the year 2022, like very specifically in the book, which is kind of crazy because I just read it just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it just kind of shocked me because it didn't have a lot of dates or years, but it did just talked about at some point that there was nuclear war in the year 2022. So it was just crazy to me.
Wow.
And it reminds me also the book 1984 also. Same thing.
Yeah.
Just same, like really just pronounced details about the way things are now. It's kind of crazy. I really can't believe it.
Yeah, he got it right in 1984. He did it. He hit the nail. Man.
So I mean,
they just didn't have. He didn't know how the propaganda would be distributed exactly. Remember, the guy's job was pasting pictures into frames and superimposing stuff and pictures, and that was basically his job.
Yeah, he would just retroactively go back and he would just get instructions on how to go back on old articles of information and just basically manipulate them and change them, stats or quotes or pictures or anything, anything that they might want any given day to just make it disappear, and they made people disappear the same way. And so, Putin is a dangerous individual. He's been building up to this slowly over the course of time. So I think that this is really just a really gradual, like a slow train wreck that we're seeing, because he built up his forces at the border of Ukraine over the course of a year. So that momentum was building right there, and he went and he took, there at the Black Sea. He went and just took the area there in Crimea, and so he's been just steadily just testing.
He walked in there.
Yeah, he saw that he did that during Obama, and I guess earlier during the Clintons he was active. So he saw there was an opening when Trump was out. He could see that there was something very strange happening in American democracy when Trump was unexpectedly lost, and this kind of fool entered the picture. And so, like I said, I don't trust that election at all. You have to be a complete moron to think that everything was on the up and up for that. But be that as it may, for whatever reason, the Washington deep state, the aristocracy of our nation there, decided they wanted to fold in Joe Biden, and that's what they did. So I think that Putin could see that, and he could see the rift that's in American politics. We're so evenly divided. I mean, for most people, politically, the enemy is their own American, neighbors and counterparts in the United States. So we really can't be united against, and we can't even really agree on issues with Ukraine, and Russia. Like, I still hear the people in the news media taking sides, like it's some kind of UFC fight or something. It's kind of weird.
Yeah,
I'm not sure why. I mean, it's really their thing. And it's really the provocative weakness of the United States. They must be laughing at us. We look stupid because we have Harris and Biden. Simple as that.
Well, there was a talk with China's what's his name, Xi.
Yeah, right.
Xi. A 2-hour talk between him and Biden today, and I didn't glean much out of the report on it, except that Biden threatened China not to, support the Soviet or the Russian attack on Ukraine. But the leading people say if they did try to do something like going to Taiwan, the consensus from what I've gathered is that Taiwan and our support would wipe them out.
Right.
Taiwan is ready for it, apparently. I didn't know that. So it wouldn't be just walk in. It wouldn't be like Russia's doing in Crimea. It would be a full, and I mean, they got a lot more people. It'd be a full battle.
Well, from the reports I've been getting, we've just upped our ante by several thousand troops that we put in Australia. And it looks like Vietnam is a deadly enemy of China, and they're all armed up and ramped up right now too. Maybe Thailand and other countries in the region have territorial disputes with China's actions in the South China Sea, or just that whole region. China's trying to have supremacy over the area and take other people's, encroach on other people's territorial, boundaries in the water or whatever. So it's definitely the pressure is mounting. And I mean, with the way that they weaponized the Federal Reserve note and just basically took all that money from their central bank in Russia, they crushed the Russian people with that devastating blow. They really shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? So, in my mind, they weaponized the economy. So that's why Saudi Arabia just came out and said that they would now be interested in taking the yuan, which is Chinese money, for their gas.
For the reserve currency?
Right. So now we have major problems. I mean, it just seems like in one short year, Biden has totally just
gutted us. That comes up every once in a while. Like the euro there was a threat the euro might be the reserve currency for oil.
Well, but, I mean, not now.
I mean, it's going to change.
Yeah, I mean, the EU is so weak right now. They're pathetic. They really can't do anything, and it's really NATO that is kind of coming on the front burner right now. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting position.
But it's got to be, whatever they do, they got to, I mean, they're sending a lot of arms to Ukraine. But however, if we take action, it's got to be a deadly, overwhelming force. It's got to be, I hate to say shock and awe, but it's got to be a shock and awe campaign, because I mean, I don't think the Russian people are really with this, actually, to tell you the truth. And I don't know what's going to happen. Or do you know what's going to happen?
No, I mean, we're just watching this.
Yeah.
Everyone on Earth is like, I mean, how many billions of people there are? Everyone's making their choices, and then you can just see it all happening. Everyone's making their choice. Like, I heard that some Russian soldiers were punching holes in their gas tanks so they would run out of gas and just basically be stalled out and advance. Like, everyone's making choices all the time. And
I believe that too.
Yeah, we're affecting the future. All of us are. In discreet and intimate, in powerful ways too, just in profound ways. So this is just, there's no way to predict it. It's just manifest. But no, I think that as far as Putin, I mean, I think that he sees he can get away with this, and usually in war, tit for tat, like it's kind of like a court case. Like when you open up a certain avenue of attack, then it kind of it justifies for the enemy to do the same thing in retaliation. So when they weaponize the money and attack the Russian people economically, it's just going to justify the Russians to do the same exact thing to America. And we're just not strong right now. We do need to be militarily coordinated and decisive, but we just don't. Our commander in chief is just
So you think it's going to galvanize the Russian people against us?
Yeah, that's another thing too. There's all the different possible outcomes. We live like the guy was saying. I listened to the war room, but he was saying we live under the law of unintended consequences now. And so,
or they could also rebel against Putin. The CIA experts are setting up rebellions. They did it all through South America, but
you just saw that
they got people in there setting up. I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
Helping to support rebellion against the war.
Of course, yeah.
I think we'll see more and more of that.
I mean, he did kill a lot of he killed Navalny, his political competitor. He killed him off, and he put him in prison. And he's a pretty ruthless guy, man. He's a ruthless individual, this Putin.
Well, from the looks of that campaign, or not campaign, but little deal he had at the football field last night or yesterday. From the looks of that, the Russian people are all for it.
I mean, so it's Russia
it's just propaganda.
Right.
Arnold Schwarzenegger put out, it was in Russian. I don't know how he got it to Russia, but it's subtitled in Russian. He had a report basically of how bad Putin is and how horrible what he's doing is and what's really happening. And supposedly that's getting out to the Russian people somehow. I saw little clips of it.
Yeah, so I mean, everyone, it's like an information war. I mean, everyone needs to come to a determination.
Exactly what it is.
Yeah, everyone has to come to a determination of what is going on. And so it's hard to find out. I mean, I heard that there was a New York Times, an old New York Times journalist who was killed, but then I heard that information was false. And so it's crazy what we're witnessing right now. If you look carefully, I mean, they were saying that they had the Phantom, who was doing the flying the MiGs and suppose, like, I mean, I don't know. I can't get a clear beat on what's really happening, so I just kind of stand back from it.
Yeah, things change, and it seems like a kind of MK Ultra mind control. Like things go, there's a shock, and then things get calm for a while, and you get used to it, and then they start feeding you information, and then there's another shock, and then things get calm for a while, and they feed you information, and that's how that works. But I think it works on a grand scale, not just a personalized scale.
No, I mean, I wonder. I mean, they're talking a lot about this, the video that's coming out of some of the supposed war crimes. I mean, It's all really subjective to me because I'm just like so many degrees of separation removed from those events. So it's hard. I mean, I just have to take other people's word for it that the images I'm looking at are real, or the video is like, it's not from like the Croatian War like 10 years ago or some shit. You know, there's no telling. You just have to be careful. You have to give it a couple of days to see if it's actually like valid news.
I think what you're feeling is the zeitgeist of the times right now, because I feel the same way. I don't know what to really trust, and I have to decide what to trust, and then that dictates what I will trust along in the future. And it's very difficult.
No, it's true, because I mean, a lot of people will question some of the information coming. It's a lot of propaganda flying around. They're questioning some of the videos. Like, is there really a war going on? Like, so I just look at all this different varying. Everyone has all this subjective opinion, and it's just really chaotic, you know. But yeah, I mean, I looked at some of Putin's speeches, and he looks like he's exasperated. I saw this one where he was on TV, and he does this big huff in the middle of it. He's like, like in the middle of the speech, you know. It's like he's talking about the scum and the traitors. They're not he just seems like he's under a lot of pressure. It's got to be but I think the way, I don't know, I think he kind of looks like a psycho, man. He's got dead eyes, dude. Yeah, he's a psycho. There's no doubt.
His eyes are dead. We look at him and you don't really see a person in there. You see I don't know, evil spirit or something.
No, I mean, I think he's like an old KGB hand. You know, he's like one of the richest men in the world. So he's built himself up in the power oligarchy over there, the power elite, which is just different crime syndicates, and how they interrelate. You know, it's just their like form of their aristocracy or their nobility, and you know they've always been controlling the wealth and resources, and so they just kind of settle into place. And I mean, the history of Russia is fascinating because they were ruled by czars, and czar is really a Cyrillic word that kind of means Caesar. So Caesar and Tsar are words that have the same root meaning and etymology, and so really the Tsar ruled there for many generations and many centuries, and then all of a sudden in 1905 and 1907 and 1915 there were major uprisings in Russia that really challenged the Tsar's power and really ousted his power, and they had these new socialist Marx and Leninist ideas that were coming into popularity, but they really brought in Trotsky and Lenin and other agitators from Manhattan, from New York City, in Brooklyn area. And at that point, in 1910, 1950, they kind of raised them up with gold bullion that was sent from New York banking elites that kind of just funded them into existence to be professional agitators. It's like bringing Antifa in, you know, people who are professionally engaged in you know, busting riots and creating havoc and, you know, causing arson and just basically burning down the system in order to get power. And so they brought them in, these professional Bolsheviks. And of course, Bolshevik just means majority. So they were claiming to be the majority and to be like this hard democracy. That's why in America we have a republic. We have a Republican form of democracy. We don't just go by the rule of the mob. No. We have to protect the minority, and the minority has rights too. So that's the difference, you know, with the republicanism. But with this idea of Bolshevism, it was going to be majority rule, and they would have this idea of everyone would vote one time forever, you know, and that would be the last vote. So once they kind of got into power, they just broke the system of a revolving democratic ballot, and just, you know, Stalin basically took over and killed everybody. But it's out of that kind of like background,
50 million under Stalin. If I'm not mistaken, 50 million is what I heard.
Yeah, if you ever watch any of the old, you know, really like hard history about what he did and how many people, how many generations of like sycophants and generals that he kind of killed off, it's really just disturbing, you know.
Yeah.
And he ended up with just the final fledgling followers that were just like worshipful. And
I think I'm going to read up again on that tonight.
It's really hard, man. Yeah,
I know the details, but I don't know. I forgot a lot of them.
All I remember is sitting there and being like sick. As I remember, like he kind of did what Saddam Hussein did, is he brought all of his generals and his military like commanders in and just basically arrested them all and marched them off to be shot and replaced them with their underlings. And he did that like systematically, like every so often, in a wave of like terror, you know, inside of his own organization. So he was really like crazy how he did it. And he never allowed there even to be a chance that there was ever even a traitor. You know, I mean, he allowed people to serve as his commanders for a while, and then after a while, he just took them out. They were too close for comfort, and he removed them and brought others in. And he did that his entire life. Even when he died, they were so scared to enter the room that he sat in there dead for, I don't know, several days before anybody had the nerve to go in there and actually, you know, possibly disturb him. You know. Because if you disturbed them, you were going to get killed, you know, period. So it's in this backdrop of, like, you know, Russian totalitarianism that Putin's kind of filling the world stage. And he's not only being prompted by the fact that we made Ukraine our own little, like, military fiefdom, and we put our little labs there, and we had, you know, we were basically propping up. Even Zelensky was a pro-American candidate that America had a lot to do with. So we were manipulating and meddling in affairs there. So it doesn't surprise me that Putin's going to do what he does, you know?
Yeah.
And we kind of asking for it.
Did you see his comedy show? You know, he was a comedian. Not a comedian, but he had a pseudo documentary type show of that he was in. I only saw clips of it, so I don't know. It was on Netflix, I think.
No, I never did.
But they're showing it again. It's about 10 years old. I didn't realize he was an actor that recently. Okay, I'll get back with you.
All right, peace.
All right, right back. Miles today.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I did 5 of it this morning at dawn, and I did another 2 later on this afternoon. Not because I wanted to, but
I thought you were just getting like super motivated. You're like, I'm going to change my life. And
yeah, I am trying to. I'm trying to quit on nicotine.
Oh man, wow, nicotine that's a hard one.
It's just making me grind my teeth more than usual. And when I have a vape, I vape all the time.
Yeah, there's no limits with the vape, and then the nicotine's even more concentrated. So it's like it's like cigarettes are just not enough. You gotta yeah.
Are you off the nicotine?
Yeah, I totally quit. I mean, I try to watch out. Even if people are like smoking weed, I don't even if they have a blunt wrap, I just avoid it because nicotine is as soon as it gets in your system, it just is very overpowering.
I had a pastor that told me one time, he said, in order to stop sinning, this was a little different, but you must learn to hate the sin as much as you once loved it.
Right.
Which I can see that. You have to learn to hate it.
That's a good
I don't hate it yet, though.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to recognize the danger it poses to your health, you know? I mean, I guess that's the thing. And I'm not too sure about the vapes because there's a lot of them have acetone in them or just do they have things in there?
Yeah, I've heard they have different chemicals in it they use to isolate it. It's not good for you.
You need the organic thing, you know. You need like the hippies to make it because they're like more cautious, I guess. But if you get it from China, probably not too good. But so how's it been? I mean, I just wanted to catch up with you on just current events. You know, things are kind of just really wonky in the world right now. I don't know.
We are so close to the end of times, man.
Yeah, I feel it, man. I feel it. I want to get the sign out, like the end is nigh, and just get ready.
It's nigh.
It's exciting.
Well, I got
I tell you.
Yeah, I got the chicken coop going, and we have the chickens out there. I mean, I guess the radiation fallout will kill them too. I just trying to do something.
Yeah.
Trying to keep
canary in the coal mine.
Yeah.
When the chickens die, you know you're next.
Have you ever had some Amazon? Do you ever like check on the Amazon Prime and are you able to watch that on TV?
Yeah, I watch it sometimes.
That's awesome.
It's got more good movies, but they make you pay for them a lot of times. Oh, I saw an awesome movie last night.
What was it?
It was I'm gonna get it wrong, but it was something like Everything All at Once. It's about the multiverse.
Okay.
But it parallels the Matrix in a lot of ways, and but it has some comic relief in it. It's got some funny parts in it, but it's a kung fu movie, and
gotcha.
You know, and you never know when they're going to break into a kung fu move or something. But they have it's about this chick that has this ability to sense her or to go to her other universes that have her in it.
Right.
So she can kind of switch between them and stuff. To try to explain the movie to you would be too difficult. It's just if you get a chance to see it, watch it. It's called, I think it's called Everything, All the Time, All Right Now, or something like that.
Gotcha.
It's got an awkward title.
I think I've seen that title. Yeah.
It's playing at 5 Points Theater.
Yeah, usually after enough time, everything kind of ends up on Amazon. I mean, Prime and stuff. I mean, you can
get a lot of movies that are new releases off of that.
I can find stuff that they don't have. I can find titles they don't have, and it's kind of crazy how that all works. But
I'll send you the trailer for the movie in a little while. So we got Russia. I don't know what's going on. I don't know the motivations. I don't know what's wrong with Putin. I just don't know.
Right.
We got Elon Musk, who's being the hero of the world, trying to get by Twitter, and they rejected his offer of $43 billion.
That was insane.
So he's going to come back in 10 days with a counter offer. He has the ability to do a. What kind of takeover is that? A harsh? What is it?
An aggressive one? Is that the right word?
Aggressive takeover, yeah. But the point is,
hostile takeover.
He's trying to increase free speech. That's what his goal is. He's a, I guess, philanthropist in a way, in all ways.
Well, it must be appalling that Twitter has this kind of like marketplace cornered on global communications, and there's so much centered there, and for them to have this kind of censorship policy, it's extraordinary, and it's embarrassing, really. And
it's embarrassing because they banned Donald Trump.
Well, and him, and plus a whole bunch of other people.
Yeah, a bunch of other people.
You know what's really going on here? It's really just a bunch of young kid, little like hack nerds up in Twitter. These little, the millennials, the 20-somethings, and once they go in there, there's so many users, there's so many billions of profiles. Once they go in there and mess with somebody, and they just kind of turn them off, like no one even knows they're gone. They're just, you know what I mean? On some level, you're just dealing with the administrators inside the actual company. So, I mean, there's really there's no recourse. There's no way to have anyone take a look at your situation. You know what I mean? It's so, yeah. I mean,
well,
I think
I've got this page. There's a group called Beautiful Stuff Photography. And I'm noticing there's only like 55 or 57 people in it. But each post only gets 2 or 3 views, if that. So I don't know what kind of algorithm they use as far as everybody in the group doesn't get the post. Just some people do. Mm-hmm. How does that work, you know?
So you're in the group, but you really just can only look and you can't really post? So
no, I post, but I look at the views. It tells you how many people viewed each post.
Right.
And a lot of my posts have 0 to 3, maybe 3 views.
Have you noticed that in the heuristics inside like the actual algorithm and the programming, like some places you go, you can look at the details like that, and other places you can't. So it's really like, it's kind of strange how they kind of orchestrate things in the environment, you know, when you're actually using the app. And so I'm not really sure. I mean, it's highly manipulated, and it's highly like programmed towards messing with our psychology, and you know, and trying to get us to have like a serotonin release or something. You know, it's very addictive, right? So it's extraordinary how like the light scheme and how they kind of like set everything in this kind of weird tone so that you just kind of scroll and you're like, you're the product. I mean, you're there for free. They're there to just show you ads and basically influence you and show you, like, you know what I mean? It's a strange situation. Like, we should get paid. Facebook should pay us. All right, for going on there. It's amazing. We do it for free.
I'm about to have a cigar. I'm about to smoke three drags of it.
Just to get all the things. Yeah. I guess that's a better way to do it. Just, you're not breathing it in, just puff it in your mouth.
I don't want to stop completely. Anyway, so what's going to happen with Russia?
Well, I kind of wonder. I've been hearing more about the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab, and it's kind of been echoing in the background of our minds for a long time. And this one guy was talking about how everything has really gone off the rails for us when Clinton put us in the World Trade Organization or whatever happened there. So it looks like to me that Zelensky and Putin were both associated with the World Economic Forum, and they were like Klaus Schwab's Young Future Leaders Club. So if you go back and rewind to tape back to when they were young men, they both were in this same situation where they were in this group, Klaus Schwab's group, the Future Leaders, whatever. So there's more there to do research on, but I'm starting to wonder how orchestrated it really is. So
I think it's very orchestrated.
Right.
And I'm convinced that our phones hear what we're saying.
Oh, absolutely they do. And your phone has 5
too
cameras.
Many coincidences.
How does your phone have 5 cameras? Explain to me how that one works. Like, you know, like, do you have 5 different like camera capacities when you take pictures? Like, what's going on with that? I mean, to me, this is all just like a DARPA simulation. You know, I think they scaled out this technology in advance, well ahead, and it's just kind of releasing commercially, like, as if it's organic, like it's the natural development of the technological of modernity. You know, it's just kind of like, here's a new product, check it out. But I don't think it's really working like that. I think it's all part of, as we're going into 5G especially, I think it's all kind of tuning in to this larger mega grid, the superstructure of technology that we're kind of being, you know what I mean? We're kind of being led down the primrose path, and the agitation too on the southern border is extraordinary. How that's developing, because we're going to have another 10 million people.
And they've seized enough. What do you call it? What's that drug?
Fentanyl or
fentanyl to kill everyone in America 10 times.
Yeah. They can just produce it, so that it's not coming from a plant. They just totally cook it up, and they can do it en masse. And then they have carfentanil, which is apparently 100 times stronger than regular fentanyl. So it's really just
they make pills out of it, man. I got this was last year. I got I won't go into that, but it's a terrible thing, man. It's awful the way people. I know 2 people that have died from it already.
Oh yeah, it's an epidemic. I mean, we all do at this point. You know, people are dying left and right. I think they're just trying to get some drugs, and like the way that the concentration is on that, like you think you know what you're doing. And then, of course, it's a murder drug too. These guys like to put it in other things and kill people. I think that people are dying by accident. And
they make other pills. They make Xanax, and they make
fake ones, right?
Losticet that looks just like it, but it's fentanyl. And for seasoned opiate users, they probably like it. It's really strong, but
well, you need at this point your body is craving a solution. So when you take something and you get something that covers that and it takes care of you know the kind of aching addictive urge that you're having. So fentanyl just kind of, you know what I mean? It's a dangerous thing, because once your brain gets
micrograms, it's
right.
like measured in micrograms, it's the amount that you need is so small. It's like about 1,000 times stronger than morphine. And they mix it up and they cut it, and
that's crazy.
Local drug dealers cut it and try to make it the right dose. And one dose might be okay, and the next dose is a killer.
Yeah, I think that sometimes it's intentional too. I think that they're doing it to people. It's because they love to. I'm just saying. I'm sure not everyone does that, but
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, I mean, not to be so cynical, but yeah, it's. I think it's going to be an explosive epidemic, and I think people are really messed up with meth too. Like, I mean, everyone can see the ramifications in our own lives, and with people who are just messed up with it. When I go into Gainesville, sometimes I went just pulling into on the exit ramp and going in, the underpass. There's some people down there with like a bunch of boxes, and they're just really messed up. And you can see they're almost like zombies. They're kind of tweaking out, and there's really nothing you can do. I mean, it's an epidemic. So I think that at this point, America is just, it's the end of our debt currency too. As far as the debt cycle of our currency, it's coming to where it's becoming unmanageable. We're not going to be able to.
It's just numbers on a screen. They don't. You don't even know anymore. How do you visualize a trillion? It's not intuitive.
The pressure on the dollar is as far as wages are not going up, but the spending power of your dollar is going down. So if you just want to go get a drink, if you just want, every purchase, the prices are being pushed up higher and higher. So there's so much pressure on people's wages. That's how it's really going to happen. You know what I mean? When people really they can't keep up as far as running in the wheel. And Biden is just an extraordinary, sad, humiliation. I think that I was watching this one video where Saudi Arabia is putting out the
videos.
Yeah. You see it where they're making fun of them. Yeah, I guess everyone's seen it.
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think Biden's going to make it I don't think he's going to make it to the end of the year. I think he's going to be forced to resign, and we're going to have President Harris.
Yeah, I think
which is scary.
I think that the pressure is there, and it really. I think Hunter Biden is looking at indictments. You know what I mean? I don't think he's going to be able to get out of it. I think Hillary Clinton's looking really bad. The Durham special counsel is still rolling on. And since he's done all that he's done now, Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, it's crazy politics. He can't really roll it back. He can't really get rid of this investigation. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the Mueller probe, but it's on the other side of the aisle, right? So it's going to go hard and just continue on and on.
They need to measure what they do so that Biden can't turn around and pardon them.
Right. No, you're right. I guess he could, but it would be a Pyrrhic victory because it would just be such an gross abuse of power that at that point you'd have to impeach him. He needs to step down.
When he spoke, he said, the gist of it is, he said, there's exactly one thing that describes this, and then he went off talking about all kind of shit. Just nonsense, complete nonsense.
Right.
And then they showed him, and then another video I saw of him, or I saw it when it was the story last week. He was at a party, and he was looking around for someone to talk to, and there was no one there. He goes over to Obama and puts his arm on his shoulder, and Obama ignores him, and he's just walking around like a sad little kid.
Yeah, go ahead.
Then it's another one. He spoke at a black leadership conference of some kind, and he spoke. And when he finished speaking, he turned around with his hand out to shake, and there was no one there to shake his hand. Yeah. No one ran up to shake his hand.
Totally astonishing.
He looked around for a minute, and then he walked off the stage.
It's astonishing, dude. It's really the craziest thing. The guy is done. And I think that there's no real pressure from Harris because I think she's scared out of her mind. There's no telling. Maybe her ambition and hubris is like off the chart, and she just can't wait to sit in the chair and like.
Don't forget about Nancy though.
I'm just saying, I think at this point, what you're dealing with President Harris, I think she'll go totally nuts. She'll try to like revoke the guns. She'll do executive orders. It'll be a total like, what do you call it? Who was the woman of a Jezebel situation? Like she's totally sick and depraved. And I'll probably get arrested for saying this later on by the secret police that she'll set up. But I mean, I don't know if she's capable of it, but that's what you're dealing with.
She's not very.
I mean, of the three, of Harris, Biden, and Pelosi, I would rather Pelosi be in charge.
That's scary.
I think she's, and that's
no, he's right. No, actually,
but I think she has the most sense of the three.
She wouldn't be completely insane with power. Like she's kind of had it for a long time. Like she would just do her little thing. I mean, she probably would push for weird political things, but she wouldn't be as nuts. I mean, Biden's out of there, dude. His son. I mean, look, the whole investigation into Hunter Biden it's bringing the roof down because they already sent. It was actually John Kerry's one of I think his stepson was involved there too on the side. There a lot of people are going to start going down because look, if Biden was a strong leader, he could step in and he could like fend all this off. But since he's so done, like there's no one protecting him. You know, he's done.
Let me ask you this.
I think Obama is in control. He's been in control. It's obvious that him and the Clintons are running the show here, you know, in the background.
Do you think Putin would have invaded Ukraine if we had not withdrawn from Afghanistan the way we did?
No, absolutely not. I don't think that Putin could believe that Trump really lost because he was even kind of like holding out for a few weeks, kind of like waiting to see what would happen. I remember that. I remember how it went down like after the election stopped counting and things kind of started going sideways and the counting kept going on for days and days and then just kind of like somehow Biden won. And so I remember Putin was just hanging in there with President Trump for a few weeks, just waiting to see what would happen. But I think when they realized that it was such an upset and that the thing got hacked and that Biden, this clown, and Biden is a totally sold out asset of China and he all the shenanigans. Yeah, that's exactly why he went into Ukraine was because of Biden because all the Hunter Biden was getting money from Burisma, the energy conglomerate there. Like all the corruption with the Biden family from the last decades has involved Ukraine. You know, so even some of the secret labs, the chemical labs that were funded in Ukraine that Putin targeted had Hunter Biden's dealings in them. Like I don't know, it's all coming out. So since it's so corrupt and so vile, no one's going to protect the interests of Biden to keep him safe and keep this all. I know it's going to blow up, and so I think Hunter's going to go down. I think man, it's going to be horrible. And then also since he had to pick such a weak partner in Harris, it just exposed us all to this tough situation. Like who's going to command these generals? Like who's going to run this shit? Yeah.
She got the least Democratic votes in the primary of any of them. She was the bottom in the polls.
You can see it in your mind, right? You can see it all listed out, all the Democrat candidates, and at the very bottom is Biden, and then beneath him at the very bottom is fucking Harris. So it's really an amazing and almost like a joke on the American people that they were like pulled out, the election's hacked, and somehow they're installed, you know, by the regime. But it's really the international regime that is just trying to, the World Economic Forum, the World Trade Organization, right? I mean, we need to kick the UN out. It's never going to happen, right?
We really do. And the UN needs to go down.
I mean,
why don't we just expel it? I mean, I guess we can't, but I don't see why we don't. We could
at any time. We have absolutely no right. I mean, it's almost like a private organization, like a bridge club. It's the United Nations organization. They can just, they don't have any meaningful, real power. They have all this treaty. They're bound up in all these treaties now, but they're just killing us now. They're trying to pull us in. That's what's going on at the southern border too. They're diluting American sovereignty and the national boundaries as people just kind of rush in. Like apparently, like 300 Ukrainians couldn't get in, so they just went to Tijuana. This is on the news cycle, and they just stuck across the border, and they've just been given de facto like entrance into the country with papers, and apparently, I mean, some migrants are being like flown around the country, all over to different cities. How much is that cost?
Texas is sending them to D.C.
Do you need a plane flight anywhere? Do you need to go see some relatives? Maybe they'll give you a free flight and just, like, what's the deal? I mean, how, so what you're seeing, the underlying internationalist agenda is really what you call the North American Union, right? It's so that as they kind of like merge the Mexico and Texas, and they just kind of muddy the water so much that you can't really like put it back. Apparently last month another 250,000 people came across the border, so you can't really it's beyond rounding them up. I mean, you're having internal civil war with the inhabitants of the country who are mostly not English speakers. You see what I'm saying? No habla English.
And they're giving them cell phones.
Oh yeah.
To track them.
Well, of course, but of course it's just another way to buy them too. It's like, here's a gift, here's a token. The fact that they're going to listen to everything they do and say, it's just part of the security apparatus. I do that now.
Where's my cell phone?
All right. No, bro, you're part of the white Protestant, right? The old order of nationalism and popular government. You got to go. You're a heretic. These people coming up from south of the border are hardcore, Mary of Guadalupe, listen to the parish priest. I mean, that's how it's all being funded. It's all being funded through Catholic Charities. That's coming up in one of the episodes. At the border, Catholic Charities is spending tens of millions of dollars to help orchestrate all this for the good of the people, But of course, they're destroying America, and the people that are coming here.
You have to destroy America. In order to get the UN agenda, the United States has to go as a sovereign nation. It's got to be like you said, the North American Union.
That's right. And so that's what's going to happen now. I think that a lot of that, you're seeing that pushback happen with the truckers rally up in Canada. Justin Trudeau just totally smashed them. And you can see that the writing's on the wall for Americans. So if you're from south of the border and you're a Mexican national and you come here, you're all good. You're not even going to barely be arrested. You don't have a social security number. So you're really not in debt for you're not really in hock for all the debt as a citizen, right? It's really the people with social security numbers who owe the IRS who have to explain where all these trillions of dollars are being spent. Because the trillions of dollars of borrowing through our senators and through the legislature that they're doing is on the good faith and credit of the American people, which is you and me. We're in hock to pay that all back. It comes out of our wages. I mean, you see what I'm saying? So that system doesn't really apply to Mexican nationals. It doesn't apply to people that are for Ukraine. I mean, these people don't have social. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, we're really liable for the whole construct of this, and they're outside of the system. So whenever they go to court, they're just going to kind of pass through and then just kind of be let go. That's why these people can have a DUI and run over and kill people, and then 3 weeks later they're out. They're just. What I mean?
I'm interested to see what's going to happen with that New York subway guy, because
apparently that never happened. I mean, if it was a white dude, I think they would have been still plastering his face up with his middle name. They give him all three names when they really, yeah.
Yeah, the mayor of New York was upset. He was upset about a few days later there were, I think, three black people killed by other black people, and he's like, "Where is black?" And I don't really like him as a thing, but he said, "Where is Black Lives Matters when you have
black lives being
people killing black people?"
That's where it's most profoundly important. Yeah, they're only there as a Marxist group paid for by Soros to be shock troops to show up when it's a police officer situation that they can take advantage of. They're just there to be rabble rousers and professional rioters. They're not actually there to address actual generational. Actual systemic problems in the communities themselves, with the families and with the people. They're all just cannon fodder, in the end.
Yeah.
But no, I think you have these
billionaires. Did you happen to see where the governor of Texas is sending bus loads of people to D.C.?
Yeah.
He's sending them the migrants. He's sent around 500 there already.
No, they're doing
it. DeSantis says he's sending if they relocate. Whatever you call them, refugees, illegal aliens, whatever. if they come to Florida, he said he's sending them to Delaware.
No, it's really important right now for these governors to be empowered in their states, because as the federal bureaucracy, the monolithic like security state, the biosecurity state is like faltering, and they really can't figure out what they're doing on mask policies. As far as like the judge struck down the mask policy, everyone's happy. It's politically unpopular across the board, but I mean they're not interested in democracy. They're just interested in control. So they're going to try to go back and turn it back and put the mask policy back in place. And so it's being exposed now, and as Biden is so weak and kind of flimsy, it's a good time for state governors to take back the power for their people in the states. See,
that's what I want.
Right.
That's what I want to see.
Absolutely, because the federal, after the Civil War, the federal like Leviathan there has just basically taken over an imperial control over all the people in the states too that are subordinated. It was federal supremacy. The supremacy laws, where everyone was subordinated to this kind of weird little district of Columbia, this tiny little, weird, it was like a city-state within itself, this little power structure they set up, and everyone was taxed by it. Everyone is being audited by the IRS. All this control. You have to have your ID. You have to have your social security number from the city-state of Washinton D.C. And everyone has to pay their taxes. So that whole situation was exacerbated when Lincoln had to take executive action and created war powers. And the president at that time Lincoln used the first executive orders, like we were talking about. So that needs to be put back into place. I mean, we don't need a commander-in-chief who can give executive orders. It's not constitutional. It's not part of the Bill of Rights. It's not.
Yeah, they use that. Executive orders are supposed to be used in an extreme situation. They use it as regular, everyday business.
Right, and no one questions it. I mean, the media is totally silent. Their balls are completely chopped up. There's no one out there that's going to say, hey, what are they doing? I mean, they have to keep a state of emergency happening at all times, because that's what gives Washington, D.C. its extraordinary power to act and to use NSA and to use the FBI and to use all these powers that they have against the American people. That's what allows them to keep these January 6 guys locked up for over a year without even going to court. Right, so I mean that's the suspension of habeas corpus. We're basically at martial law. No one wants to say it.
Domestic terrorists.
Well, I mean that's what they've been building up. That's where this whole 9/11 thing has been leading to. It's been leading to a way to create this supposed emergency necessity to start to track the American people and take away their civil rights. So they're not protected anymore. So I think that QAnon thing had everything to do with getting those people there. There was obviously a lot of FBI agents that were there on the ground, and you can see that when you go to revolver.com and look at Darren Beatty's reporting. He blew that wide open.
Agitators and paid agitators.
Yeah. Apparently the whole thing that happened with Gretchen Whitmer out there, it was in Utah. I don't know where she's at. I don't even know the state. Is in Nevada, wherever the governor. Yeah. So she when she had her supposed FBI sting, where they were supposed. Yeah. Did you hear the reporting on that, Ed?
I caught some of it. Yeah.
So basically, they roped off a couple of dope homeless guys who were retarded, probably drunk. So they just got a couple of guys to come and sit down and complain about Gretchen Whitmer, and created a huge FBI case about it, and said that they were going to kidnap her and blow up her home, and they were going to take over the Capitol, and all this kind of madness was this like hyped up fake FBI investigation. That whole thing ramped up a few weeks later, like 2 months later or 3 months later, to end up being the January 6th thing. So they kind of rolled it into. It was the same thing. It was like an attack on the Capitol, and it's extraordinary what we're witnessing in history here, and the Republic is in terrible danger. The one guy who was a January 6th Fedsurrectionist, that's what we're calling it now, the Fedsurrection. So he was supposed to be a January 6th guy. He showed on video that the cop opens the door for him and lets him in, and they drop the case. So the whole thing is faltering. The whole narrative is faltering and breaking apart. And I'm worried now what the next level is, because they have to take it up to the next level, right? So we have to have
uncharted territory. I don't know what's going to happen.
I don't think they're going to give it up. I don't think they're just going to let things just play out and lose. They're going to something like something is going to happen, that will make it a whole new emergency. And I think that's where they get their power, man, is from the states of emergency and then being able to operate under that war powers. So that's what Abraham Lincoln set up.
How long have we been under states of emergency? I mean, it's endless.
Yeah, that's the whole point. The actual de jure republic and the constitutional normalcy needs to be reinstated. So all those war powers need to be put away. The reason why Abraham Lincoln started using executive orders was because the Senate, the quorum of the Senate was broken when the Southern senators left, and they could no longer make law. So the government was basically broke down, and so he started using executive orders to give commands. And ever since then, we don't need that anymore. You see what I'm saying? But it's something
need to take it away and give them a limited somehow.
The Constitution limits them. So that's the whole point, is that we need to just go back and read the Constitution and do what it says. It says to coin money in gold and silver. It says that, man, there's a lot of things we need to change here. And I think the American people is too illiterate, too uneducated, and they're too imbibed with the media narrative that won't ask these questions. They won't. They're just taking everything as face value, and they're leading the American people down a primrose path because we have no recourse. In the end, there's no way to solve the problem. It's just more executive orders. So if Trump comes in and he won't do what needs to be done, he's really no different than Biden. You see what I'm saying? If he just borrows a bunch more $1 trillion of spending, if he just issues more executive orders, if he just keeps the status quo, it doesn't really matter if it's blue or red. That's what people really need to understand. That we need somebody to put the executive branch and put the order back, the constitutional order back into place.
All right, we're going to have not to change the subject, but I guess I will a little bit. Roe versus Wade. We're already, the states are starting to come to their senses now,
right?
And they're limiting abortion. I think it's Texas, which is no big surprise, but they've limited abortions to the mother's life in danger is the only reason for an abortion.
There has been several governors who have just enacted laws. I think we have one in Florida that basically slowed down the process there too, and by making limitations on it. So it's definitely a huge move. I mean, I literally get on my knees and pray to God that we could come to our senses, because there's a lot of innocent blood that's just been.
A lot.
That's what homicide where you are not allowed to have an abortion.
You can look at that from a religious perspective as being their sacrifices, to Satan.
Sorry.
Well, they're sacrifices.
They're killing unborn children.
Yeah, they're sacrifices to our own convenience and to our own sexual adventurism, where it's just a convenient way to keep on having sex. I mean, you know what I mean? That's an insane way to be. I mean, there people are. It goes part and parcel with the state kind of replacing the fathers out of the home, and it just goes to the heart of our entire culture and the meaning of life. I mean, if we can't even bring about and rear our own children and bring them into the world, and of course, these people now, we have this other side of the extreme left who just would probably, they're kind of Malthusian. They would probably put an end to the human race anyway to save the planet. So they're kind of human haters anyway. So it's a bizarre thing, especially the most rich and powerful, the most, you get to see the extreme elite, like the Bill Gates of the world. They're totally Malthusian. They're totally anti-human, and they're just there to be a germ of hatred, like an idea virus and a weapon against humanity. So they're trying to do this world. What could be more cynical and evil than population control and trying to extinguish, to call back the human herd to something that seems more reasonable to them. It's the most insane and evil thing, but this is within reach now. This ability to use economics to bring about some kind of utopian vision. It's the same old thing, and I think we're just the useless eaters. I mean, if they're actually trying to do a calculus, they would say, listen, we have too many bovines in the field, and they're giving off too much cow farts, and this cow farts that you're having is actually changing the environment. Do you think they're not thinking about the calculation of human beings that just take up apartment complexes and just drive around SUVs and pollute? They're thinking about doing a mass democide, and that's the big picture. I mean that's what they keep exemplifying.
The UN's trying to get its foothold in with they want to be able to pass these climate change agendas as part of their power.
Absolutely.